is really about lead flow. It's about understanding leads. It's about understanding your risk and your reward. It's about understanding your pay frequency and how fast it could happen. All of those things are going to go into you making closing easy, right? Like, and I'm going to go through a few of those things today. And by the end of the goal, by the end of this discussion, is for maybe you to have questions about, but to have questions, not necessarily about, I don't know, maybe you just have questions, or maybe some things were answered. But I really want to give some clarity on the fuel for this business. Okay. A lot of you may be new, a lot of you may be new in this industry, but the understanding that leads just aren't you spending money is something that needs to be taught, I think, sometimes, you know, and it's going to be caught, not taught, but we're going to teach it. So eventually you'll catch it. All right. Because once you catch it, you'll be like, oh shit. I was just talking to Zach the other day about something very small. My man's making money. Makes sense? Making money. But I was like, hey, what if it was just set up on auto? You buy leads every Sunday anyways. Why don't you just set it up auto for every Sunday and you save $3, $4 per lead? And you're not thinking about, I got to buy leads on Sunday. And the Sunday that you got stuff going on and you can't, and it makes it go till Monday or Tuesday, or maybe you had a charge back on Friday and you're like, ooh, I'm gonna just work these over the weekend and then Sunday don't. Like those types of things, naturally, the human are gonna make, we're gonna make those decisions. But if we set it up on auto, it's just flowing. So it doesn't, so it just takes some of those, so there's a few different things, all right? So that's just an example. And it was just fresh on my mind. But we want to talk about investment and ROI. All right. That's what business is about. Fair. You have your purpose in your business, but at the end of the day, it's profit and loss. All right. It's investment and what are we netting? Is that fair?
Fair.
Right. All right. So within that, like I said, you're going to find your purpose, your why, all that type of stuff. I get it. And I'm very passionate about all that. Okay. But today, let's just keep it black and white, profit, loss, input, output. Okay. So leads, okay? There is going to be a multitude of different types of leads out there, okay? And there are so many leads out there. My advice is when you get started, focus on a lead type and keep a lead budget either there or increasing, okay? Like, don't go backwards on your leads. All right. So lead type I would recommend would be veteran leads. Okay. That's what I would recommend. Why? All right. Because tell you this and not get you why, that's useless. Okay. Why? The vet leads, okay, are a market that aren't getting pounded. Okay. These are all things, and be clear, leads a leads a lead. I've sold insurance on cards, postcards that said you get a free Domino's pizza if you fill it out. And I sold a lot of insurance with those. Okay? Just when there's a will, there is a way, Arthur. Make sense? We will figure it out. But these leads, these vet leads are they're very direct. They're very niche. All right. And it hasn't really been out there in the industry. See, you're surrounded by people at FFL that sell a lot of veteran leads, but the industry, if you came from another place, they weren't talking about veteran leads. They weren't. They're not taking that step. They're not putting the money into the marketing. Okay. Now, the dollars going into the marketing for vet leads is top dollar. All right. It's a very, very quality lead. Okay. So with that, that's another reason why a lot of people in the final expense space don't really dive into it because they're like, dude, if I can create these final expense leads for $4 or $5, sell them for 15, 20, I'm just gonna do that. And we're gonna have Robert and Stacy and Tom all filling out the same damn lead and selling it to seven IMOs. And you'd be like, I got my final expense leads from the CRM center. I know they're exclusive to you, but you don't think Tom and Mary are not seeing other final expense ads? So what I'm saying is the ad space for vet leads is this big. The ad space for final expense leads on Meta is this big. There's this many people running those ads. There's this many people running these ads. So what that does for me is lets me know, man, I want to work the smaller group, even though this group over here is cheaper. This group over here, I know is going to give me a better return. Whenever I'm looking at leads, you guys, and I'm not a lead company, I make $0 when anybody buys leads. And this has been how it is since day one. And Sean Mike told me this. He goes, the more expensive the lead, the better it is. Period, point blank. Okay. Now you're like, what's better mean? Better means pickup ratios. Okay. Less of the I've been, talking to this person or I'm in the process of something else already. All right. But pickup ratios are the number one thing. Everything else is a real close game. But you want people to pick up the phone? Get you some fresh leads that are coming in and call them right away. But call them like crazy though, because they're not going to pick up the first, second time you call them. All right. But vet leads, that space, right? So new leads, you're going to get a bit more pickups. Older vet leads, all right, you're going to get them at a fraction of the cost, right? But once they pick up, it's the same client. All right. But you're going to take more dials to get them on the line. It's just what it is. You got to know that. But once you get them on the phone, it's the same deal. All right. Now, why is this client so good? All right. This client is so good, or such a, I guess, a great prospect. Okay. Because everything typically, veterans, everything that they do is through the VA. Okay. The VA has helped us out a lot by not offering good life insurance. Okay. Do you understand if they offered good life insurance, I wouldn't even be able to have this conversation. They don't offer them good life insurance. And a lot of them don't know there is anything else outside of that. And the only reason they're clicking on the lead is because they go, damn, somebody's giving a damn about veterans. And I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like, what's this about? They're not confused. They don't think it's the VA. 9.9% of my vets, they think that the VA, they hate the VA. All right. Then you got the one that loves the VA. Don't say anything bad to them. All right. Let them rock. Okay. But you know what I mean? I'm just being real. But they are a group that's not very marketed, but, and they don't have, but they give a damn about their families. They're in the VGLIs, right? They may have seen some Globe advertisements and things like that, but they read between the lines. They didn't like it. Makes sense. And they're just waiting for somebody to step forward. We'll get into script and things like that. I want to talk to some folks about because there's some key things that I want you to get into that aren't on your role play script that's through your release and things like that. Because there's a lot more building a connection with vets early in the conversation. Okay. But this client, they're not marketed a ton. All right. The VA has no life insurance to really offer them. That's anything good. All right. And their pre-existing conditions are through the roof. And a lot of these marketed carriers with other things like that, they wouldn't get approved. They wouldn't there's VGLI is not guaranteed. Do you know what I mean? So you get to a certain age and you have health things like they'll be like, dude, you can't, no, you can't have it. So those are those that's why that client's so open. But here's a financial piece. All right. A lot of people work final expense. They're like, man, the clients have, they don't got no money. They're broke. I'm dealing with broke people. Da, 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 da. I'm like, I don't deal with broke vets. I haven't really found that like that they may say they're broke, but then we find $200 a month. You know what I mean? Like they have a different flow. They're 75, 100% disabled. They got checks coming in every single month. And then they still may have Social Security coming in as well. And then they still may even still be working a little bit on the side. That's that client. My final expense client, I ain't got that many options. I'm 100% sure they're living off of a depleted 401k or just Social Security. Be clear, sold a lot of insurance with those clients. But if I said you want to go this way or go that way, like this one's averaging $800, $900 AP, right? Or even less when I started. My first year, my average AP was like 700, okay? Because it was all final expense. Or vet leads, your average AP being 1,200, 1,400. You're like, the leads cost more. I know the premium's twice as much that I'm getting paid. Make sense? And the pickups are through the roof and they're not being marketed. And if I know the space that they're coming from, meaning VGLI, SBLI, if I know what those things are, I know what they're being marketed. I know those now, man, I'm an advocate for vets getting life insurance. Make sense? Like that's the way you can look at that's what I do. Because there's always a problem that they have and they give a damn. All right. So your premiums are through the roof. And the value that comes with that respect that a lot of vets aren't too open to give, and what you have to have with vets is real structure. Okay. They're not just going to let you mumble through your script. You know what I mean? They want you to, and build a relationship with them early in the conversation. Know who they are, know what branch of service that they're in, ask them questions about it, but also give yourself a shot as it pertains to quantity of leads. All right. I see people buy 20 leads at a time. It could work, but it also could not work. Anybody been there? Bought 20 leads at $600. No, only three of y'all have done that. For real. I'm just being real. Let's talk about this, okay? Because I did it. I thought I was
Hey,
playing it safe.
you also feel the pressure, right, Dom? Like when you only got 20 leads and
Well,
you
you
start,
you you closer to it than me. Let me know because
yeah.
yeah.
Well, if you buy 20 leads, especially if you buy veteran leads, then you're looking at the price that you paid for them, and you may get one or two people right when you start the dial that like, I'm not interested or blah 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 blah. They hang up on you, so you're like, damn, I got 18 left. You know what I mean? And I haven't sold nothing. So you start to really feel that pressure. Whereas, if you have 30, 40, and a couple of people, you're just quick to get to the next one. And it's not as, you're not worried about it as much. But when you buy 20, it's like you're really every word you're saying, everything in your script, you're trying to be perfect because you're just trying to not fuck it up. Excuse my French, but so
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm going through that now because that's literally what I do. Buy 20 leads and like I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah.
So this is now. I remember Andrew Taylor, and he tomorrow we got Rami, but next Friday I'm sure he'll tell the story. But so at 20, call it 600, okay, or 40 at 1,200, okay. A lot of us think that that hey, I'm gonna play it safe at the six. We could spend 1,200, okay, but we spend the six or less, whatever it is. But 40 vet leads now, like Zach said, now I could just, man, I could fly through them and they come in fast. You're like, you order 40, you're going to get 40 like the same day if you got at least like five states, right? Like I need if I like I don't need like feedback. There's a lot of people on here who don't know, but if I'm saying anything that's accurate, just give a thumbs up in the chat or something like that. So if I was like, okay, that's right. Do you know what I mean? Because I need to know because a lot of this I don't take data on this stuff. This is just personal experience. I need to know if my personal experience is the same as y'all's. Make sense? So, but I've seen so many people go out there and do this. So 40 leads, 1,200. Now I got so many chances to pick up the low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. Do you understand out of 40 leads, you know that there's 3, 4 people in there that are just like, somebody just please call me. Who is going to call me? Who's going to call me? Now you're like, so in 20, there's 2. Yeah, 1 or 2, but will you have the mental fortitude to keep calling and beating up these 20 leads to make it happen? Not sure. But with 40, you let it roll off for you a little bit easier. So now you can find those 3 to 4 people who are just going to be like, boom, got it. Now I turn 1,200 into 4,000 at least. Kylie, you write 3 vet applications. What's your average premium? What do you think it's going to be? You don't got to do math, but like, what's, if I said
Normally it's like 1,000.
about $1,000,
Yeah.
okay? So you turn 1,200 into 3,000, okay? Now if you have 40 leads, all in today, right? You put the order in on Thursday, it got filled Thursday afternoon. Or Wednesday night, it got filled by Thursday. Friday and through the weekend, you're ripping it. Do you have any doubt with 40 leads you can write 3 apps?
No.
With 20 leads, you see how close we get to writing 1 or none?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is massive. This big difference, doubling your lead flow leads to doing way more than doubling your profitability. It also takes a lot of the angst out of what we do. And although you think the normal thing to do is to keep money aside, right? Well, I want to make sure I got money for the next time I get leads. Well, let's make sure we make money this time we get leads. That's all I'm worried about is this time. Make sense? So that this time we can make it happen. So now, dude, 40 turns into 50, 60. I was getting about 100 leads a week at one point. All right. And you might be like, damn, that's a lot of leads. What do you need? Oh, that's overkill. Yep, I like overkill. Okay. Overkill makes it to where I don't have to do anything but call people and just find the ones that are ready to roll. You with me? Like I don't have to do like 100 leads, say they were $30 a piece, that's 3,000. Kylie, I gave you 100 leads. Would you have any fear that you could pay $3,000?
No.
No, I don't think anybody on here does. Because when you say it out loud, it's like, dude, that's it? Yeah, that's it. That's it. You just told me I can make 3 grand on 1,200. So now on 3,000, what does that look like? So now you're able to, now your one call close, now your appointments and your one call closes are through the roof. A lot of you guys with 20 leads, you have some appointments. You almost got to force the one calls. Okay? Who feels that way? Or you just don't force it and you have a lot of appointments and they no show you. Come on, man. We all playing the same game. Makes sense? We're all playing the same game. It's not unique. How do I make closing easy? How do I alleviate all that? Buy more leads. So you'll still run into people that want the appointments, but you'll have the people that you don't have to force to do one call closes. See, you don't figure this thing out by now abundance of leads too. Like you can get a ton of leads and figure all this out, okay? But it's parlaying it in because working older leads all the time, you're going to spend way too much time sifting through. Way too much time. Versus, let me make sure I got fresh leads rolling in. All right, when you see these folks doing 50, 60, 70, $80,000 a month, like that's what they're doing. They'll say, like a lot of the top producers, you ask them how much they spend on leads, the answer is that they don't know. They know when they turn the money and turn it into when their CPA tells them this is how much you spent on leads. Folks who ain't making a lot of money, they know to the T how much money they spend on leads. And that's your problem. You with me? You're too fine with it. It's like, what are we doing? Worry about the income. Somebody's worried about the outcome of the income is dependent on the input. So trust in your skill, okay? Trust in your practice, which is what you're doing currently, and bet on yourself. And the odds go up when you have more leads, not down. Now, your palms may be a little bit more sweaty, but I still had butterflies after playing baseball for 15, 20 years every time I went up to bat. You should have butterflies. This is good. It should be nervous, and taking away that fear of hitting the checkout button. That's setting it up on auto. So now you remove that. All right. And compounding, everybody on here, if you've done one-time lead purchases and you've been kind of consistent with those, look how many leads you bought. Okay. Times it by 3, and that's how much money you could have saved. But you weren't believing in yourself. You know what I mean? So a lot of this is to put you in the best position. All right. Now, vet leads overall. Now, let me back up a little bit as it pertains to investment. Okay. The frequency that we can get paid, I believe is why this works. Okay. Because you may be like, man, I don't really have that. Like today's the 17th, you know? Maybe like, man, like I got that, but that's my mortgage money, that's my rent money, whatever the case may be. Yeah, but you got to know that we get paid daily, and the way we train is for you to get paid daily. Okay? We don't train to get you paid next month. All right? So when you write a policy on the 17th, Thursday today, you should be paid on it on Monday. What is that, the 21st? You should be in the deposit. And you got to believe that though. And if you've done it once, you got to believe that you could do it again. You got to believe that like it wasn't an accident. No, that's how fast it works. And even if you thought it was an accident, accidents happen again. Make another one. Make sense? Put yourself in a position so that that could happen. But if you don't believe it, then you're going to hold on to your money for your rent or your mortgage. You're going to miss out on the lead opportunity and you're going to lose your momentum. But you'll pay your rent on time. Make sense? I believe that you can make the money, increase your confidence, and still pay your rent on time and still have more money and be ahead. And you'd be like, you know what? I'm just going to make 2 months mortgage payments right now, so I don't got to worry about it next month. Like you could put yourself in that position to be that far ahead if you stack the deck in your favor. You may hear that on trainings a lot. Folks say, stack the deck in your favor, stack the deck in your favor. The only way to the biggest way to stack your deck in your favor is have an abundance of leads. Another way to stack the deck in your favor is have a ton of non-residence licenses. Another way to stack the deck in your favor is have, you know what I mean? Like there's ways that you can make this a level playing field, lopsided. You with me with that? Like, because everybody has the same opportunity, but does everybody take that opportunity? Everybody's like, I want flexibility, but nobody wants to flex. It's like flexibility requires that you start at, you're working until midnight now if you're on the East Coast, if you want to get free from your job. Use that flexibility. All right. So, questions, comments about the vet leads, quantity. I want to get into some sales specific things with vets because I think that's important. But anything to do with that cost of the leads, anything like that. I've seen folks back off of vet leads. I've seen them back off of them, but I've seen other people double down and just continue to rip it. You know what I mean? So I want to answer anybody's questions, comments about any of that because this is the field to our business is leads. So questions, comments, input. I'm wide open.
Yeah, I'll say something about the leads. So I was buying a lot of FEX leads because I was doing well. And I decided to go back to the vet leads and then I'd compare the two I went over the last like 30 leads of my FEX leads and how many people I contacted and sold. And then I did my vet leads just recently, and it's like double. Like the last 20 calls of vets, 11 people answered, sold two, but everybody picks up. It seems like they just pick up a whole lot more. Not the FEX leads are bad, because I sold plenty out of those, but it's like the vet leads, I don't think they get hammered as much. And we talked about that too. So that's true.
So you said that pickup ratio, right? So is there are you doing anything different to get them to pick up, right? And when they pick up, what are some common things that you would have to be ready for working with vets that, you know what I mean, that may be different than a general FX lead. But also a lot of folks on here there is no difference, right? Because they don't really know either one, you know? So, but what are some things you have to be prepared for? Because you know our script, Jason, that we practice, right? That we come in
Yep.
on release. And I'm
I
actually
mean,
thinking of tailoring it, Bryce. Do you know what I mean? Because I think
yep.
the way the vets is, I was talking to Mike and he goes, dude, we can blow this thing up more with vets. You know what I mean? And I'm like, right? So it's like, could we tailor that more around that? But what are some things we got to be prepared for working with
So
vets?
yeah, so just talk about I mean, it shows on there if they're in the Army, Air Force, Marines, whatever. I mean, I bring that stuff up right away. Ask them how long they were in there. Just talk. They like to talk about that kind of stuff, and I bring that up like right away, and so they know that I know what I'm talking about. And just start building rapport from there. Really, I mean, it's the same kind of lead. I mean, like I said, a lead's a lead's a lead, but these are different because the veterans are just like I don't know. They're just different. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. And they got money, and they know the importance. Not that the FX leads don't know the importance of life insurance because they want it too, but maybe they just can't afford it because they get 1,000 a month or whatever, 1,500 a month. But they have money and they're willing to spend it, you know. And I just like to talk about themselves, Okay, and then they start talking. They start talking like, okay, they said they were in the war, but just like to make sure that they know that I'm going to be helping them and thanking them for their service. Just that's like a huge thing right there.
Uh, that I never really thought about that how much how you allow them to speak about themselves. Can anybody second that when you're working leads or anything else specific with vets that you know? But I have noticed that, man, that the more and more you get them to talk about them, the easier the rest of the presentation is. And that's typically early in the conversation.
Yeah, and they got plenty of stories. I mean, they could sit tell stories all day long, but let them talk a little bit. Let them, they probably sit around and don't tell their stories all day long to anybody. I mean, they probably already told their wife or their spouse or whatever hundreds of times. So they like to tell people. And I just ask a lot of questions and listen. That's one of the biggest parts about that too, is just listen.
I'll just say I'm a vet too, and even when I came back from deployment, I did all these cool things, cool trainings, shooting guns, doing, running through the jungle, rappelling through it. And I was hoping my family would ask me a little bit more about what I did, but they're all busy with their kids and everything, and so nobody really asked all the cool stuff I did. That, oh, how was the vacation? And you tell a short answer. They don't really dig any deeper because they're busy with their families. And so it's cool to tell people all the fun stuff you did.
Dude, and Scott, thank you for your service, brother.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
thank you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Sir, you know,
You like stroke that ego a little bit too. Like I'm like, oh, what'd you do in the army? Oh, I was a helicopter. What I can't remember what he called it. The guy who shoots out of a helicopter, the guns. You know what I mean? And I
A
was just like,
gunner.
oh, yeah, yeah. I was like, he's like, oh, I was a gunner. Ooh, and I was like, oh, you a badass, right? And he's like, you start to get the little feels, or if they say they're in the
Yeah.
Marines. I low key got that from you, Dominique, when you was talking about feeding into their ego when you talk to like somebody who was in the Marines or like like a elite level in the service. It kind of like the ego stroked a little bit.
it's huge.
Yeah.
And does anybody, hopefully, maybe you don't have a story with them. Does anybody have a family member who is in the service, or maybe you grew up and your parents were in the service, or
Yeah.
whatever
One thing I have
story
to
you
tell.
have about that I think is huge when you're talking to vets. I like to tell vets, like, this is why I'm talking to you. It's never like, oh, this is my job. Do you know what I mean? It's no, I have a license. I'm giving you the macro. I have a license and I choose to help vets with it. And I tell them a story about why I choose to help vets. Make sense? Everybody on here, make up your story or think about what, you know what I mean? Like, what is it? You know what I mean? Like, what is it? Man, I respect what you guys do. I realize that you guys aren't served. You know what I mean? There's a lot of carriers out there. Me, it was my uncle who was in the Air Force. All right. And I said I lived with him. Man, he didn't live in the, I didn't even live with him. All right. You know what I mean? I said I grew up with my uncle. He's in the Air Force. This is all true. All right. But not that part. All right. But I grew up with my uncle was in the Air Force. When he passed away, he didn't have insurance. All right. We thought he had insurance. He didn't. All right. And I was in the industry already. I was already selling insurance. And he passes away. And I never really approached him about the insurance because I thought he was taken care of. Well, his VGLI was terming out. He didn't pay. He didn't pay with the increase. And he died. No insurance. And I felt like an idiot because I never approached him about insurance because I thought he was taken care of through the military. So I was just as naive and ignorant as the vets were. And I was in the industry. You with me? So I said from there, I can help anybody with insurance, man, but I choose to run my marketing around so I can help people like you so that, so I know you care about your family, but you don't know everything about insurance, just like my uncle. So I'm here now to help you. Set the stage of what you're there to serve. They served us. Why are you serving them? Not why are you selling them? Big difference. FX people are waiting for you to sell them. These vets are waiting for you to serve them in a very structured way. Make sense? And when you have your script tied up and you know a little bit about it, them, all right, then you're off to the races. And they're going to tell you everything about why they don't have it, who they talk to already, all that type of stuff. All right, they don't really got a lot of time to be BSing around a lot of them, you know. So the script, okay. When everybody did Lloyd, did you guys send Lloyd over? Did anybody start getting those graphics back? Did he get those to you guys? Yes? All right, cool. So when you first get on the phone and you're going through that piece, all right, make sure that they're clearly getting. If you have that graphic, great. If you don't, your ID. But I really like to send that graphic over to the vets. Okay, make sure they have it. Hey, and they see all the branches there. That's me. That's who I, you know what I mean? Just be very, very clear with that. Just like you would with all leads. All right. But what I found is with vets, like they don't trust as you'll find the FX lead that will just trust and give their social security number to everybody. The vets ain't like that. Can anybody second that? You know what I mean? So although they're a higher premium close, more pickups, if you don't come correct, they will not stay on the phone with you. Has anybody experienced that? You know what I'm saying? Like when you skip steps with them, it don't work. You could skip steps with some other ones. But like just be very, very on top of that. All right. This is who I am. This is that's me. Make sure they can see it. All right. And then make it seem like, I help vets all the time. This is what I do. All right. Just like I said, that story right there, I help vets all the time. There you go. Yes. All right. And so just be very and there's another thing with tonality too as it pertains to all leads, but vets in general, you got to know that they're in a series of command. Okay. And a lot of our folks that we're calling, actually, they're in jobs, they have bosses and things like that, right? But you got to know that when you're calling a group of individuals who are used to being told what to do, you got to continue that. So although they may come off hard, you got to continue to tell them what to do. So like when Zach says, so here's what we're going to do, is probably the strongest statement you can say to a vet or any lead. But I'm just being like, you've got to be strong with them to know that, hey, yeah, we may die, but hey, we got to go this way. All right, yes, sir. Boom, I'm out. There's something in there. I'm an athlete. right? I'm coachable. I'm not gonna like I ain't definitely not putting us in the same category, but I'm just saying that like we will do what we're told, even if we don't want to do it. Okay? Now in this scenario, as in life insurance, we know they filled out a form, we know, but they're just gonna say some weird things. So I gotta stand up for them and just still lead them. Here's what we're gonna do. Versus seeing them as in they're in the position of power because they're a vet, they're older a little bit, whatever the case may be, right? Sometimes we lose that dynamic because they're not soft and petting their puppy. Make sense? Like, or you know what I mean? Like it's a different client. And it won't be different if you don't know any different, but I know that who you have to be, you got to be strong. You got to stand up for them because that's all they're looking for, somebody to stand up for them. All of our leads are. But I got to say, vets are, uh, they don't trust easily, right? But they do trust fast if you do it right. You know what I mean? But if you take a long time to gain trust on these phone calls, it'll just, you got to, like that building rapport off the top is very big.
And if they sense weakness, they're gonna hang up on you. I mean, they're not gonna deal with it. So, and I've actually noticed, not noticed, but I am firm with everybody, even the FX leads, but with the vet leads, you can tell when you're like telling them what to do and how we're gonna do it in the most respectful way possible, that they respect that even more.
Hell
And
yeah.
if they sense any weakness or anything, if you're just kind of like, well, what do you think we should do? I mean, they're not gonna do it. They just will. They won't.
I've never had a lead type that's asked me what they should do more than vets. Never. Like when you set the structure up right, they'll just be like, yo, well, just whatever. Like, my scenario, what should I do? I'm like, wow. Like we're in control. IUL's a little different. They kind of like you kind of help them design it and you kind of tell them based on their goals. But as in general life insurance, when you really come off as their girl, their guy, that's what I'm working for. Do you know what I mean? And that I because they're not getting all these calls. They haven't went through a whole bunch of crap. They don't have a distaste in their mouth about life insurance per se. But are we going to help them take care of it the first time we talk to them, right? Or, not have our script tied or because they're going to say the same stuff. I'm busy. You know what I mean? Hey, let me just get a quote. Makes sense. I just want to know how much it is. They gonna say that. And if you can't overcome it, you won't get to all this good stuff we're talking about with vets. Because Jason or Zach or anybody like if it, out of the people that you sell, how many of them are they still give you stuff, right? Or do they just like not give objections?
I mean, they still do. Of course they do, but not if you not if you do it the first time. If you structure it the first time around, I mean, you can really just make it easy on yourself, you know? I mean, everybody's got objections, but if you can overcome them before they even say them, then that's the best part about it. Because you start letting people have one objection, then they're gonna have another one, another one. If you can just start knocking them out right away, then they'll just stop and they'll just start listening. It's just about taking control. And a lot of these vets, they've been in the forces for 20 years and they have had somebody in high command. So when somebody's trying to help them, they're going to listen, and then they'll respond.
What's some of the biggest objections anybody who's, new agents, okay, or newer agents, if you bought vet leads, you worked leads, what are you getting? You're getting the pickups. What are some things that maybe you're unclear of what they have, right? Or maybe there's some things that you're running into. Could be anything. I want to work with that because I know some of you are doing that, are buying the vet leads. So
I know for me, like I've been buying vet leads and like I've been calling them a lot. So I've had like a couple people like, I'm not interested, stop calling me so much. And I'm like, and they just hang up. And I'll wait a little bit and then I'll call them back. But it's just like, that's what I'm supposed to do. Like
okay, you
you
said a
just
couple.
you just filled out the form like 3 hours ago. I've been calling you and now it's stop calling me. You're calling me too much.
Hmm.
So
Now you said that's just a couple,
it's been like 2 or 3 vets that told me that.
and how long you been here?
What you mean?
How long you been selling insurance?
3 months?
3 months. So one a month says that.
No, not that. Just the last couple batches that I bought. Well, the last batch I bought. I've
Okay.
had I've
Got you.
had like
Okay.
3 people. Yeah.
Okay. And you know what? That'll happen. You know what I mean?
I figured, yeah.
Like it is what it is. Now, what do you do? What's the answer?
Keep calling.
Hmm. You got another number?
I call private.
Uh,
I give it some time. I give it a couple days, and I call back.
yeah. I
Yeah.
just I have like 3 phone numbers.
I have two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So two is good. You know what I mean? But just call from a different number. All right. Different day, different number, same number, different day. It don't matter. Until they block you. And don't call me and don't block me is like still call me. You know what I mean? If you didn't want me to call, you just block. You know how easy it is to do that?
Yeah.
Everybody knows how to do that. Makes sense. So I think that just keep ripping it from different numbers. But at the grand scheme of things, 40 leads, those two or three, we ain't talking about that. Does that make sense? 20 leads, we can identify every issue within that batch.
Yeah. That's my 20
I'm just
batch.
being like that like when you get 20, it's like, yo, you can boom, boom, boom. Because then, but 40 plus, there's a lot of things that we don't even need to work on when we increase our lead flow. Like some people think they have a closing problem. Like, no, you just have a lead problem. They won't give me their banking problem. No, you have a lead problem. Do you know what
I
I mean?
think
I
that's
have the
it.
same number of people who don't give me their banking too. I just have more leads. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so now the person's out there dropping $1,500 a week and having those things. Now let's get into the weeds and figure it out. You know, Bryce, I see you pondering.
Well, dude,
Pondering.
I think that's why people stop calling vet leads because they're not getting called as much. And so you get more pickups. And so you get, instead of like FEX, internet, other leads, when you get less pickups, you get less, hey, stop calling me, I'm not interested. So when
Yeah.
you get more, hey, stop calling me, I'm not interested, it makes you think, oh, these leads must not be as good. Or also, a lot of the veterans tend to be or can be a little bit more snappy, right? And when you hear that and you're like, oh, that kind of hurt. Like I don't want to call those anymore. So I think that's why people stop calling them, honestly, is because people are telling them like you're getting more of your leads to answer, which just like with any lead, you're going to hear more of the stop calling me, I'm not interested. So it's just part of the game. But I'd still rather call a lead that is more niche and more marketed to. So like the same reason why vet leads work so well is the same reason why like mortgage protection, people like working mortgage protection, right? Is because
Yes.
it's a very specific client and you're like, well, again, I don't get me wrong, I love final expense. I've built the majority of my business off final expense. So by all means, love it. But mortgage protection, inherently the client they have a home, right? So it's more likely they have a solid income. That's why people love mortgage protection.
That's
But
why.
it's also like a very specific thing. Whereas veterans, it's the same kind of market. Like, and again, there's exceptions to everything. Somebody might be on here like, oh, I called a veteran that had no income. It's like, okay, yeah, of course it's possible. But generally speaking, veterans have a source of income. It's like not Social Security plus, disability or something through VA. So you just giving yourself a much better chance to speak with a client that has a guaranteed set income that's larger than just a majority of like final expense clients, right? And so I'll take that all day. But it also is not something so crazy specific like mortgage protection. It's just general life insurance. So we're talking about a niche market that has a better chance of having an income, but it's still a general thing that we're covering and
Yes.
not narrowed down so specifically. So to me, like my favorite lead type is just a life insurance lead, as opposed to a marketing term like final expense or mortgage protection. So
Mhm.
you talk about getting niche but still general, like in the best possible way. That's why vet leads work so well across the board.
Dude, I wrote a $12,000. Well, I wrote a lot of IULs off that leads.
Me too.
Okay. Like IULs, um, big cases, term cases.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? I've had a
Everything.
65-year-old that was just, no, I just want term insurance. They didn't want no final expense, and they were healthy enough to get the term, so that's what we got them. You know? But when you're just so narrow with FX, that's all you're going to get. Do you know what I mean? So another reason why the lead costs more.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Things that are great, they're going to cost something. I'll tell you that. But we are working our butts off, and I say we as in the lead company, to make this the best platform for agents. For agents. All right. There's no, they don't even do
No, can
recruit.
we talk about that for a second? Let's talk about
Yeah.
CRM Center and Goat Leads and why we
Yeah.
need to talk about them, recommend them, and probably what your and my relationship is with them, so there's no confusion.
Yeah. Yeah. You got it.
Right? So
Want me
like,
to tell it?
I mean, yeah,
You tell it.
sure. Yeah, like why did we start working with them? And why do we recommend them?
Well, we started working with them was it about 3 years ago?
I don't even know if it was that
We
long.
started doing our own lead gen.
Yeah.
Okay. I was buying a ton of leads from a bunch of different people. And we were like, man, this is ridiculous. So I reached out to Michael File and I said, hey man, can you help us run some ads for leads? And he was like, sure. You know what I mean? You got to do the ad spend. He set it all up. And we were getting final expense leads. All right. And we were producing them for like $10 a piece. Okay. Like really good leads. And then they started going up a little bit because we wanted to really change it. As things grow, when things are small, you can produce small for a little bit. And once things start getting bigger, it changes a little bit. But that parlayed into Mike going, damn, this thing is going to work. So let's start doing IUL leads. Okay, so we started doing IUL leads, started producing those. And then probably about a year and a half ago, I started buying vet leads from another guy. And he was charging me like 40, $50 a lead, $50 a lead, actually. And I was like, dude, there's got to be a better way. It's a good lead, but it's got to be a better way. And Mike was like, yep, let's do it and turn that thing on. All right, so this just started from us just wanting the best. We just wanted to know what was happening. I couldn't call up to lead company and say, what's the ad? Like every lead that you guys get, you can see the ad. And if you haven't seen the ad, ask. You know what I mean? Ask for it. Like, hey, what's that? What's the ad say? Because when you see it, God, you'd be like, it almost puts this belief in you of like, why in the hell wouldn't they buy the insurance when I call
Right.
them? That would be insane to watch that video and not buy the insurance after I call them. You know what I mean? Like that's how good it is. And so that's what we were doing. We wanted like there's some videos, like some of you guys probably get vet leads that are like I'm in the video. You know what I mean? Like there's videos of like me saying stuff to vets. There's videos of other people saying stuff to vets, and then they click on it. Boom. It was real cool when you call the lead and be like, yeah, you saw the video with the guy in the red shirt. And then I shot him the video of my picture and they'd be like, oh, that's you. That's you in the video. I'm like, yeah, that's me in the video. Double up. So, and you can do your own too, by the way. There's no proprietary thing, by the way. The reason I got out of it is because it was a lot of work. So you're like, why don't we still have the leads? I'm like, dude, it was a lot of work. Like, I didn't want to do that. I'd rather pay more to not have to deal with all the back end stuff as it pertains to running a lead company.
Yep.
So, we helped, go get off the ground, but they're doing it. They're doing it. But we gave them, we're a piece of the idea. All right.
And like it's just a guy that wanted a better lead for his agents that has just grown into a lead company outside of him running his agency. So it's very specific to what we do. It's an FFL agent that's like, I want to make better, I want to be able to make leads for my agents that got really good at it, and us and other people started to buy them from him. That's how it started versus some guy that's just good at Facebook marketing making a bunch of money off insurance agents because he knows we make a ton of money. You know what I mean? It's the exact opposite. So that's why I get my leads from him. And I know we're over, but dude, I'll just say this. Like ever since we started getting these leads and working vet leads, and I've been doing this for 5 years, is this past year plus has been by far the most profitable I've ever been in business.
Mm.
And there's many factors that go into it, but main thing is this source of leads and these leads. So I couldn't. I'd be doing you guys a disservice if I didn't recommend these. You know what I mean? Because the goal is to be profitable.
That's it, and that's all. Genevieve, I will share the ads in the or a few examples of what's out there. All right, I'll put it in the WhatsApp. All right. And then when you order leads and things like that, I think you can always just in the chat too, if you're in the WhatsApp, if you buy CRM leads, they give you an option to get in the CRM Center chat. You should be in there. I think there's some of you guys who aren't in there because if you're in there, you would see all this different action happening with the CRM Center. So log in, get into that WhatsApp group, and then you can always ask in there for anything or see what's new coming out with leads. That WhatsApp group gets everything first. Right? So great questions. Hopefully this helped today. That link in there will take you straight there. And let's keep rocking out. See you guys tomorrow. Rami Hamadi will be
Yeah,
on
I have a quick
tomorrow.
question
Yeah.
before you go.